CARICOM offers its office to facilitate dialogue to end ongoing political and economic crisis in Venezuela.
CARICOM heads of government mandated the chairman of conference to communicate with the parties concerned in Venezuela about this offer.
Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the National Report, I am Rakisha St. Louis. CARICOM heads of government have committed to facilitating dialogue between the government and opposition in Venezuela to help bring an end to the worsening political, economic, and social crisis in the country. At the just concluded 38th regular meeting of heads in St. George's, the CARICOM leaders mandated the chairman of the conference, Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, to communicate with the parties in Venezuela about the offer. The heads say there is urgent need for a solution to the problem, but that must be sought internally.
CARICOM heads of government call for all parties to commit to engage in a renewed dialogue and negotiation leading to a comprehensive political agreement with established timetables, concrete actions, and guarantees to ensure its implementation for the well-being of the Venezuelan nation. In this regard, CARICOM heads of government offer their good offices to facilitate this dialogue.
CARICOM Chairman Dr. Keith Mitchell. The heads have reaffirmed commitment to the principles of adherence to the rule of law and respect for human rights and democracy, as well as for the fundamental principles of non-convention and non-interference in the internal affairs of states. Outgoing Chairman Guyana's President David Granger, whose country borders with Venezuela, is heartened by the principled position taken by the heads on the crisis.
We're not panicking. We are interested in a peaceful outcome to the troubles in Venezuela, and we will continue to work as a community. We will continue to work within the framework of the OAS to ensure that everything possible is done by other states in this hemisphere to ensure that there's a peaceful outcome, one that satisfies the people of Venezuela, and of course one that keeps the region as a zone of peace.
And Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness says based on CARICOM's long and fruitful relationship with Venezuela, they are keen to see a solution to the current problems.
There are well-established procedures and ways in which these matters can be resolved, and so we must express our support for those avenues to be used. And as friends of Venezuela, we must make our good offices available to bring resolution. And I think that is as far as CARICOM could go.
While agreement has been reached at the 38th regular meeting of CARICOM heads of government to put all efforts into addressing the challenges of non-communicable diseases, the leaders say the people of the region must also be responsible for their own health. Heads are concerned about the mortality rate of non-communicable diseases and the use and abuse of alcohol and tobacco, which is taking a toll on the region's productive sector, and have decided to continue addressing the problems.
Particularly as it relates to smoking and tobacco use, the consumption of sugar and salt, and exercise and leading a generally healthy lifestyle. Certainly in Jamaica, we have adopted a program called Jamaica Move, which is encouraging people to exercise at least 30 minutes a day. And it has been having an effect, and we encourage all countries and all people to take this very seriously.
That's Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness. In September 2007, CARICOM heads met in Port of Spain and embraced a 15-point declaration intended to address the problem of non-communicable diseases, and last year, heads asked countries to impose taxes on sugar products and look at tobacco control.
We are signatories to the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which is an international treaty which requires us to do certain things, and we have not been meeting all of these obligations. We have signed the document, but the implementation gap, as was mentioned earlier. So smoke-free should be everywhere. It is not. Taxes should be at 75% of the sale price of tobacco. It ranges from 60-something% to like 15% across the region, so there's potential for getting money.
That's Dr. Alafia Samuels, head of the Sir George Allen Chronic Diseases Center at UWI Barbados. Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says Grenada has identified a roadmap to deal with the challenges, and the first task was to have a functional, broad-based, non-communicable disease commission which serves both in an advisory and implementation capacity.
Other section is to have a non-communicable disease policy or plan as to how you're dealing with the various threats, etc., and to separate them, to separate those that are based on cause. So that flows directly into when you have a tobacco, alcohol policy, as well as a policy on sugar. Those three, but to identify which one is your first priority, because sometimes it's difficult to take all across the board. And as I say, we do have different economies and based on economies. So for some countries, it is difficult to approach some of these things because of lobbyists or because of a significant economic sector in one of these areas. But we have approached from alcohol policy naturally flowing into, yet to be done, but will be done within the next 1 or 2 sittings of Parliament, passing legislation with respect to drinking and driving as well. But the alcohol policy is set with respect to advertisements during sporting events, schools, etc. Appropriate taxes on alcohol, sugar, or tobacco has to be addressed.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The Children's Carnival Frolic returns to the National Stadium on Saturday, August 5th. And this year, it's no exception to the fun and frolic experienced by our nation's children as they parade in colorful revelry. It's fancy masks, still pen, calypso show.
I love Carnival. I love my mask.
It's the Children's Carnival Frolic, National Stadium. Starting time 11 a.m. Admission adults $20, children pay 10. More at the door. So don't miss out on this sizzling array of colors. It's mass, pan, and calypso. The Children's Carnival Frolic. Saturday, August 5th. Bring your kids. Bring every child and have a ball.
Crime, violence, and its effects on the region could be on the agenda when CARICOM head meets again in the future. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who raised the issue at the just concluded 38th regular meeting of heads in Grenada, said governments must take a proactive stance against violence, which is becoming almost a feature of societies. He says the use of violence to resolve conflict is more than just a security issue, but also a macro-social one.
So I've asked CARICOM to place this on the agenda for our next meeting, and heads have agreed. And so this will become an agenda item. And I believe that this will start a process within CARICOM to address the issue of violence, and in particular violence that ends up in crime.
The University of the West Indies Alumni Association is calling for Grenadian graduates to become members of the association. This call was made on Thursday during a farewell cocktail reception held for Chancellor Sir George Allen, who is leaving on retirement. Sir George has played an instrumental role in revitalizing the alumni over the years and was commended for his efforts.
Here we have Sir George at the end of his tenure as Chancellor, but still showing the same commitment that he did at the beginning of his tenure to the role of the alumni and to reviving the alumni and to bringing alumni into the UWI in more than just a role of giving, but a role of participating in our growth and in our development.
That was Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor Dr. Luz Longsworth. Sir George stressed the importance of keeping the alumni together and functional.
I grew up in a big family, so I happen to believe in family relationships. I happen to believe in people coming together to enjoy themselves, to share common bonds, and to share common memories. I think this is one of the more important aspects of life, to belong to a family. And I regard our alumni as part of a large family. At my inauguration, I spoke of the sons and daughters of the Pelican, in the sense that we're all sons and daughters of an image that there is of that of the Pelican. and as sons and daughters, we have a filial responsibility to our alma mater.
The ceremony was attended by Minister for Education, Honorable Anthony Boson, and many alumni, including Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade. And that's the National Report. I am Rakisha St. Louis.